Okay. So I'm calling to order the meeting of the Woodstock Finance Committee. Oh, geez, September 11th, 2023. It's 1:04. We have 4 items on the agenda. And I don't remember, I remember the 4th one is healthcare. The 3rd one is the long-term model. Oh, 2nd one is, I remember, is the capital improvement plan. And the 1st one is the schedule of department meetings. So that's the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I just want to propose, I know we briefly discussed it, maybe not today, but maybe at the next meeting, if potentially the select board and the trustees at some point, if this thing moves forward, because I read carefully the minutes that took place with the water company, whether we should or would get involved in helping out with the analysis, et cetera, at some point. Nothing we have to decide today, but just to keep it on the radar out there.
Let's add that. We'll add that to the agenda, and I have a bit of an update on that. So what are the role of the finance committee? Any other additions or deletions to the agenda?
Jonathan, I have a question. This is Roger. I noticed on the village trustees agenda, there's something about a new police car. Do you happen to know if that's something that would have been in last year's budget or the current year's budget, or if that's something new they're asking for?
It could be either. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, I'll ask them.
Okay. Any other additions or deletions? All right, hearing none. Are there any citizen comments? By citizen, we mean non-committee members. Roger or Renee? Hearing none. Okay. So I think we can get through parts of this agenda quickly, although I will have to say that I have chaired, I'm sure many of us have over the course of our careers, many meetings. And I would say that 100% of the time when I start the meeting by saying, I think in this case, we might end early, it never, ever happens. So I'm not going to say it, but I'm thinking it. The schedule of department meetings. Eric has not set those yet. He's going to tell us, I think, by the end of the week. What I'd just like to do is to send out an email with the schedule of those. What we did last year, which seemed to work fine, is to have 2 members of the committee sit in on the department head meetings. And then we'll continue to meet monthly, I think, although we may have to adjust our schedule a little bit once we see the exact budget schedule and sort of report back. I think we had a spreadsheet last time where we kept track of what happened in those meetings, particularly items that relate to changes in, what happened basically. And actually, Kareem, could I ask you to kind of go through that again and just refresh it so that we're ready to start with the first meeting with that? Since you were sort of, I think you maybe
no, it was Kareem.
Okay.
The tracker.
Yeah. Could you just kind of just set it up again if there's any changes you want to make to it, and then just clean it out for this year so that we have the tracker ready for the first meeting, which I'm guessing will be in a few weeks.
Sorry, what are we talking about? Yes, I recall now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll take care of that.
We put into that in each meeting. If Ellen and I go to the meeting, we both fill in, or one of us, we do the notes.
You put it in a comprehensive list.
Yeah, so maybe it's just we can just enter it in directly into the comprehensive list.
Yes, okay, I'll take a look at that. Yeah.
Okay, and what I'll do is I'll send around the schedule of the meetings. If we can each sign up for a few. I don't know if we'll be oversubscribed or undersubscribed, but I think ideally we have 2 people attending each meeting. There's nothing limiting that. If you're really excited about attending one meeting, fine, you can. But if we have more, actually, if we have more than 4, 7, if we have 4 people or more at the meeting, it is a public meeting. So it would be great to not have 3 or fewer.
Perhaps we could, sorry, John, we could also, for those who are new, I'm thinking about, Renee joining and Tom, etc. The way it was conducted last year might be a little bit different than might be conducted this year, depending on what Eric wants to do, right? But generally speaking, we were pretty proactive, asking a lot of questions. In some cases, asking the department heads to provide opportunities perhaps for cost savings, etc. Which doesn't mean that it may not happen again the same way this year, but maybe Eric also has a few thoughts. So before we jump actually into the meetings, it would be good to get a little bit of his thoughts around how he would like to see those conducted.
Yeah, I think, well, would you want to have a meeting with him or hear from him before we start the meetings, or simply have him conduct them? He's gonna have a strong point of view about how to do it, and he's shared that a little bit with us.
But I think we should get some specificity
Okay, fine.
in terms of what his preferred format is,
Okay,
and then abide by that.
yeah,
Yeah.
But I think we need to have that
Okay,
before
fine.
the meeting
All right.
really begins.
I'll ask for,
You agree, Ellen?
yeah, no, that's fine. I'm
Yeah,
not,
and if we don't want to have a meeting before they start, I'm not sure when they're starting. If he wants to put a few bullets in an email and just circulate it, it's fine too.
okay, that's a good idea.
John, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, go ahead.
Are those meetings open to the public?
I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. They're not legally required to be unless, as my, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure
Right.
they're not required unless there's more than 3 of us on the finance committee. But it's fine to have them there. Fine with me. Why don't I raise that with Eric and
Great. Yeah, if you could just
Yeah, well,
clarify that, that'd be great. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to many, but the big ones.
yeah. Okay. Okay, anything else on the department meeting process? Okay, the capital improvement plan, in Jill's absence, she sent, I think she sent all of us, or maybe just me, she sent a quick update on where we stand, which is Sarah Macy is available for a very limited number of hours. Eric and Jill both feel that having Sarah spend some time on this is worthwhile. That presumably means that Eric thinks he can pay for it. Basically, Jill and Eric need to close the loop, and Eric was on vacation last week. He was supposed to do something, but then went on vacation. So we'll find out more as soon as Jill and Eric connect. I said this to Renee when I was giving her kind of my impressions of what she would be signing up for and where things are, that I'm not sure how much progress we're going to make on any of the things that we want to do this year, improving the accounts, having the capital improvement plan feather into the budget. It's just going to be what it is. Eric is new. What I think the really good thing that we have is basically Eric is new and is a finance guy and wants to run this properly. And the town and village have decided to set up a finance committee. Those are the 2 things. I think we will make progress on the long-term financial plan because we can do that without resources from the town or anyone else. But
I think the most important issue here is that we're here to aid Eric.
Yeah.
Right, the select board.
Right.
And the trustees. And if Eric seems to be a different species than his predecessor,
he does.
and we can help that effort.
Right.
That's
And we'll be
all we're here
fine.
to
Right,
do.
exactly. So
Is there an update on the replacement of Zoe's position?
I have not heard one other than, it's proceeding that I think before he went on vacation, he was starting to interview the first person. I think he has, I think, a very, not much more than that, other than I have this sense from just a few oblique comments that he made that he, is going to try to get the best person he can rather than.
I think he is going to, he alluded to in a very passing comment to me, this is a timing issue for him. This is the right person.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And if it takes an extra couple of weeks, so be it.
Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Who's filling that role now?
I think Eric.
He's doing the whole thing.
He's doing it.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. It was sort of his job. I mean, the real
Yeah,
job was sort of his job prior to, so he knows what he's doing, and he's presumably able to get Patricia. Well, just one operational observation, which is that we laid on top of the operation after Zoe left, the processing of 150 payments for the employee lost wages fund,
Hmm,
which even though they were all very small, each one was as big as $100,000 payment. You have
Yeah.
to enter it into the system and so
Right.
forth. And they got it done in the time frame that Eric said he got
Okay.
it done.
Good.
So,
Let's call it remarkable.
yeah, and so
Stop it there.
something is working. All right, anything else on the capital improvement plan? Renee, just for your information, and I think Roger, you probably know this, but the capital improvement plan is started a couple of years ago to try to identify all of our fixed assets and a schedule for replacing them and making sure that they, stay current. Everything from, a town hall to a police car and everything in between, or actually, yeah, probably even below a police car. And just kind of getting a handle on what those specific ones are, what the schedule is for replacing them and so forth. The long-term model, we have made one very huge improvement. No thanks to me or any of us, because the school committee, in parallel with us, was building exactly the same model for the school, which was, in exactly the same concept as ours. What would your taxes be if it cost 80 million, it cost 60 million, if we did it now, if we did it later? It's a fantastic model. It's more developed than ours.
Who did the model?
Ben Ford, who's a member of the board.
Yeah, I know Ben.
Yeah, Ben,
Yeah.
right. So maybe others helped him, but he's driving it. And he's the one who sent me the copy of the Excel spreadsheet. So he owns the Excel spreadsheet. I think he might have done it alone. With obviously lots of input, but I think he may be the builder. The conclusion, I don't even want to show it to you. It's not necessary, but the conclusion of both that model and our model, which models the municipal piece, and therefore, the conclusions are identical, which means that when we do eventually combine the two models into one, which will be fairly easy to do, I just haven't done it yet, the conclusion of the whole is going to be the same as the conclusion of each of them. And that conclusion is that there's only one thing that we can do in Woodstock to moderate the tax increases that are coming, which is to increase our population. In the case of the school system, it's increasing the population of the number of kids, which is quite likely and is actually being forecast by the state and by us.
And I'm sure that in his study, it also would include, let's say that unfortunately, whatever circumstances, that the number of students or population were to go down, that has to be in the spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah.
It can't be, yeah.
No. Their model is exactly the same as our model. It's a dynamic model. It starts with a page of assumptions, the key leverage points, the key one.
It's a heat map.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, and that's how our model does it too. In fact, our model, the thing that moves our model is the increase in the grand list from new construction. That's new people coming. The increase in the grand list from expansion of existing houses, which we have some data on, isn't big enough to move the needle. It's only building of new stuff that makes a difference. So what the implications of this, I think, the implications of this I think, are really interesting for not just the finance committee, but also the EDC and also the planning commission.
It's consistent.
Yeah, no, but the planning commission has its work to do. The EDC has its work to do. We have our work to do. I think our work is to get the message out and to ask the rest of the town, we will align and figure out. And you can always, someone's having a, yeah, it is your Krim, thanks. Yeah, we can always see, by the way, for those of you that, the planning commission held a meeting last week about a set of suggestions that they're making to make it easier for people to build accessory dwelling units and even some other kinds of housing. Things that I think any reasonable person would say, okay, it'll change it a little bit, but we need the growth and it's not going to fundamentally change the way people experience Woodstock. It was very cleverly done. It was very carefully done. we now have a planning department that is thinking, that is driving that rather than resisting it.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, they're not only accommodating it, they're driving it,
Mhm.
which is fantastic. So I think this is all going to fit together. It may take us, frankly, a couple of years to get everything aligned, but I'm very hopeful about that. So that's where we are on the long-term model. At some point, I can show it to you, but the real key is the conclusion, which is we can model it. We can now get to work on the assumptions that we saw last week. What's the interest rate? How long would we borrow for? What's the timing? What's the capital cost? What are the major projects other than the school? We have the water system, we have the sewer system, we have the water system, the possible dealing with the water company, a few other things as well, the town hall, so.
So, John, yeah, last time when we were kicking around the model and looking a little bit at the variables, one point that was raised, and as part of the climate change conversation also, and I believe Tom is the one who said it's been done elsewhere, is kind of the carrot and the stick approach, which is to incentivize people to actually build on their empty lots, so we don't have empty lots sitting around. Was that broached even informally with anybody on either the planning department, select board, or the trustees?
Not by me, but maybe by you.
Not by me, other than the fact that I called the other community where there is an interval tax on certain properties that you're able to build but have not. So they lifted those to fair market value of what those buildable lots would sell for, right?
So not including the value of the house that was built, but including the market value.
Precisely. Basically the unrecognized value
Really smart.
of the property. So the properties had been valued at $3,000 a piece.
Right.
They went to $17,000 a piece.
Right.
So my taxes effectively quintupled
Right.
on these individual properties. And he said that's all we had to change. And he added, and I'm telling you this because I was suggested not to email the data, right? That information is town-based. The town is allowed to make the change without state authorization.
In Vermont.
Mm.
In Vermont.
Fantastic. Okay, so that, by the way, if we're in the category of what to do about,
Incentivizing.
what to do
Yeah.
about it, again, the planning commission has a major role, the EDC may have a minor role. The only thing I can think of from the finance committee's point of view in terms of actions to be taken would be something like this, and maybe only this, but I can't think of something else that would.
But if we added that, the byproduct of that.
That's my point.
No, agreed.
You know, there's figuring out what we need to do, increase population of students and people. How do we do that? The finance committee isn't going to have too many levers, but this is one, and maybe the only one. So I think it's our responsibility to consider this and share it and push it and so forth, right?
So I guess as an action, is this something to bring up during the budget discussions when we talk about the planning department as one area to look at, or is this something to bring up a little bit more formally with a couple of slides and perhaps invite the person from the other town or something? I mean, what's the thinking? Because I think it's a great idea, but we need to action it, right?
Yeah, I think the question is,
I think you want to get in the ear of the planning department.
Yeah.
To see if there would be appetite for us to be involved in that conversation. And if they're putting their hands up, no, we've got this handled. I mean, I don't know the participants, but if we can make a recommendation and frankly, make it their idea.
well,
I have found that always the best way to get things moving quickly.
well, I don't think the planning committee, we could definitely talk. I mean, Stephen is right out there. We can definitely talk to him. But I think he would rightly say that tax policy isn't his thing. I think this is clearly our responsibility. And I don't think that we should hesitate to let's just think about how to move it forward. We definitely should talk to Stephen Bauer, the head of planning. And
I'm happy to be in those conversations with you, John.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. No,
Yeah.
well, you know what would be useful is maybe the thing to do just to start off is if you could get if you could maybe set up a meeting between you, the person you talk to, and Stephen, and just get him up to speed on it. And in particular, the one piece of missing data that you haven't said yet, but maybe I'm sure exists is, okay, when they said it took off from there, forgetting about, I don't think it's tax revenue. How
They
many,
had 47 unbuilt lots.
right,
Well,
and
that's what I
how,
was-
That's all they had.
no, but how many
many
lots
did we
got
have?
built?
Oh, I have no idea.
No, right.
Yeah.
No, how many
Well,
lots?
They just instituted it.
Okay,
So the behavior hasn't changed.
got it, I see.
Right, but it's a win-win, right? If the behavior doesn't change, it's extra money coming in. And if the behavior changes, it's even an additional win on that.
Yeah, no, but let me just be clear about Woodstock. That the extra money coming in makes no difference.
You can't move the needle.
Yeah, the value of the property taxes, what will keep our taxes from exploding is people building houses. The land is not, if the land is assessed at 20% of the total value. I don't even understand why in Vermont, where there's just mostly, for most part, empty land everywhere.
Well,
That's all
land
there is.
use and then this other sphere
Yeah.
and then, properties with homes.
Yeah, right. I mean, I get we've got to get, like, for example, paying the tax on the land doesn't do anything for the school system, which is most of our taxes. We need to get people. I'm not, my point is we should be approaching this as a piece of the increased population strategy.
This is just another sleeve.
The side benefit, Kareem, is in the beginning, you get some extra tax revenue.
What's an example of an empty lot around here?
The Garish property.
Actually,
It-
Jill said she has two properties zoned for that are now vacant. She said this is going to negatively impact me.
Right.
But so be it.
Right.
That was kind of
Mhm.
dialogue. Well, we'll see after she gets her tax bill what
Right.
how immediately
Yeah.
she'll be.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, besides sort of somebody owning this, and it looks like without, without sort of volunteering you, Tom, but it looks like maybe you said you'd start a conversation with the planning department. I think besides that, it would be good to try to put some estimated numbers around this. And the estimate is the purely tax sort of scenario of it. If we increase it, it means that much more money, for the town and the village, say, or for the town. But if because of that, we can convert X percentage of these lots, then this might mean even that much more, impact to our property taxes.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, Kareem, and maybe we should go about it this way, but let me at least put forward an argument for doing it in a different sequence.
Mhm.
We can tax people more because we need more money. There are not a lot of people walking around saying we need to increase our population. And there are a number of people walking around who are saying we need to not increase our population.
So we have two jobs. We have to inform people
We-
about why a larger population is important for us.
Right, and then show them how this tax helps to achieve that. If we don't position this tax as part of the only strategy that will keep our taxes low, then it's going to just be a tax increase. And
Yeah, no, yes, okay. So I
think
guess
the
I was,
yeah,
I was looking at the analytics and the logistics, and you guys are looking at the strategy, and somehow we need to connect the two.
right, okay, fine.
Okay.
So let's just say that this effort, which Tom is going to lead now, because two people have signed it to him and he hasn't objected, so that's formal of it, yeah.
So I can't take a step back.
Right. Would be, let's do two things. Let's estimate, let's just gather the data.
Let's find out how many
Right.
buildable lots we have in Woodstock.
Right.
What is the delta?
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
If we were able to institute a
How much
change,
money is it right
how much
away?
money is an interim basis?
And then
if
on
we
top
had
of
a 5%
success rate,
success rate over
Right.
a 5-year period of time,
exactly,
what would that be?
Perfect.
And then I'll build it.
Exactly.
right, perfect. That, and then just have the meeting
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
planning.
yeah,
Perfect. Okay, great.
Can
Karina,
I ask a question? In the case where this has been done, did you just go in your example from 3 to 17 in one fell swoop? No
One fell
grandfathering?
swoop. And I may have received some communication. I don't recall ever getting a memo from the town. Now, Corinth is run, I think their town manager farms 4 days a week and he's the town manager twice.
Right.
They have a post office and no general store. They're doing this so that they can basically build a general store.
Right, right.
Tom, if you need any help on this, either, kicking around
Listen, you're
spreadsheets or
immobile.
putting around some,
I mean, definitely calling you.
yeah, if you'd
Can't
like to,
run
that's
from the
fine.
phone.
Yeah.
Well, why don't the
So-
two of you take it
then-
on together?
Sure.
And can I suggest actually that you reach out to a realtor just to get a sense of
Good
the,
idea. Yeah.
because you'll need some advice on market value of raw land.
I'm
Maybe you
not
can
gonna-
just get that.
It's okay with everybody else. I'm not gonna call a realtor that is on the select board.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
No, no,
But yeah, I'll call somebody
Yeah,
else. Now, I have a question here. And I don't know it, and this is my ineptitude. What is the relationship with South Woodstock and Woodstock?
South Woodstock.
Legally,
It's part of the town.
it's part of the town. So we would need to bifurcate those two pools, yes or no?
Not legally. From a financial point of view,
Strategically.
we might need to, but not legally.
All right, that was my question. I
fan-
wanted somebody
the-
else to say
The
that.
dollars flowed
Yeah, I
into the
got it.
same bucket. Okay,
Hey,
Yeah, but-
Tom, I'll reach out. Maybe we'll set up some time in order to think through how we're gonna approach this, okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
okay. Health insurance premiums. So we have an analysis of health insurance premiums. We have good benchmarking data. It shows Woodstock to be not the most tight-fisted and not the most liberal. But the way I look at the data, if you wanted to raise, to me, it does not make a compelling case that we must raise it, that we're completely out of line. But if you were a select board member, or a select board, and wanted to raise it, it would give you cover to do so.
It's 3 to 5% in the deal.
Yeah, it's not,
That's how I read
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Which was about $2,800. Is that correct?
and per person or total.
No.
I thought it was total. If it was a 3% delta, it was $100,000. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no,
Right?
Well, Corinne's got.
no, I think it's tens of thousands, but not more than that, I think.
Yeah, so you also have to, I mean, the other point that needs to be controlled, even though they get renewed, are the union and contractual agreements. We have to operate within that framework. But let me just, the numbers were a little bit bigger than that. They're not big enough to say it's a no-brainer, but they're not big enough that we should just ignore them.
I think the way to inject this, Kareem, might actually be, this is a tactical decision about how the finance committee's role is perceived and so forth. I think the best way to do this is in the department meetings with Eric. And through that, we get to the select board and the trustees, but basically to have because some of the discussion will be with each department.
Yeah.
Then as part of those 8 or 9 meetings, it will be natural for us to meet with Eric, not around department specific things, but around something like this that cuts across all the departments, show him the benchmarking and basically say, look, what do we want to do? And the time to do it, by the way, is when we've figured out that the budget requests are going to lead to a 9% increase. And we really want to only have a 4% increase. And, one way to close that gap, we can pick up 40 grand if we recommend to the select board that we do this. What do you think, Eric? It's got to start from him. I mean, So
I adjusted the presentation following our conversation, John, and then following some feedback I get on the slides. And Eric has a copy of that. And to your point, Tom, the delta is 3% because currently the employer contribution is 93%. If we bring it down to 90%, by 2025, it means an annual savings of around $20,000, which is not a big number, but it starts sort of the psychological setup whereby if at some point we want to go even further down than 90%, it's a conversation starter.
And every community is going to try to bring this number. So it's not a static number. My guess is it's going to go in one direction here.
Right.
So
I mean, we could have that conversation part of the budget meetings, but it should be also an overall sort of overlapping conversation because each and every department has, a benefit portion to the cost of that department.
Right, but I think I agree, judging from last year, I don't think the department heads here, frankly, are equipped for that discussion. I think they would that we won't get any support from them for that. We would get support or not from Eric and from the select board. But I
Okay.
think,
You want to be sure your bedfellows are correctly aligned.
yeah, I mean, if Eric will simply tell, I think this is, my point is, I think, Kareem, this is Eric's decision with the select, to bring it to the select board. We have to convince if we think we should do it. I'm not opposed to it. It seems reasonable.
Right.
That we should, we need to, if we convince Eric to do it, he will simply tell the departments this is
And
what's
by
being
the way,
done.
it can be incremental. If we
Yeah,
did
right.
1.5% per year,
Well, actually, it's gonna be incremental because of the timing of the
Yeah, yeah.
labor union contract. So
Right.
however, yeah, that's another way to make it incremental. So anyway, my point is I think well, we can try bring it up in the first, in the first
I mean,
department meeting.
We don't know, we don't have to, I get your point. I guess my question is, again, I'm very much action oriented. Is okay, so now we have the data, and by the way, I sent him the entire study because there's a lot more information than just this stuff. There's on salaries. He said it was extremely helpful, especially now that he's looking for somebody, right?
Yeah.
I guess maybe John, you can ask him what he wants to do with it, and we're happy to help him. Whatever he decides he wants to do with the information.
Well, I think we could do more than that, but less
Okay.
than bringing it up with the department heads. I guess what I'm thinking is, what if we have a couple more of these ideas? Shouldn't we should have a meeting with Eric. That after we've had a meeting with the department, if there are going to be issues that cut across the departments, that aren't the right place for them isn't the department meetings. And I
Right.
would argue that the right place to bring it up for the first time isn't the select board and the trustees. We need to create some middle ground. This is one example of that kind of cross-cutting issue. Maybe there aren't any others, in which case I'm making too big a deal of this. But if there are a couple of others, I think the couple of others might come up during the course of the department meetings. So maybe we just sort of say to Eric now, hey, listen, Eric, you've got these 8 meetings set up. Let's have meeting number 9 with you and the finance committee, or meeting number 4, whatever, do it beforehand.
I think we want to meet with Eric.
Yeah.
Prior to the first meeting.
Okay, fine. Let's do it
with
then.
Any of it, so that
And-
we can empower him as much as he feels like
Yeah.
he needs any support from us.
Okay, fine. Then let's bring it up then, Kareem. Let's,
Okay.
is that okay? Let's have,
Yep.
Unreasonable.
Yeah, that's fine. So basically, going back to the process, let's just say that we just want to coordinate with him prior to the first meeting. Okay, and we'll talk about whether the meetings are public, how his style of conducting them is, and we can also talk about his style, and we can also talk about health premiums. And
Okay.
if there are any other ideas that we have that, we want to bring up, that is, okay. All right, good. Anything else, Kareem, on healthcare?
No, that's it. I sent everybody the updated presentation, so.
And I think we just use that in the meeting with him, so.
Yep.
And then lastly, the water company, the role of the finance committee. So there are 2 things to know, I guess, 2 pieces of information. One is that the select board, prior to Eric's arrival, the select board agreed that the kind of issues that they would go through the select board with, the finance committee with, in other words, not just the town manager and the select board, but when an issue came up, they would turn to the finance committee for analysis and support, and then write that to the town manager, and then, to the select board and trustees, would be things that were one-offs. Not, for example, not to use Roger's question at the beginning, not the police car. Whatever that is, they're not gonna say, would you please opine on the police car? But they would say, would you please opine on the water company? So that precedent has been established. It's never been triggered, but it has been discussed.
Did we initiate that, or did they initiate?
Well, the deals flow through them, but we can serve, but this is, this isn't like a huge bureaucracy,
So we
but
don't
yes,
have to ask it.
I think it was anticipated that it would flow through them, start with them. But I think that they've forgotten that they had the discussion. Right, just as it's not like top of,
No, I'm
Yeah.
just asking.
So, right. The second piece of information is that I have, by happenstance, I've gotten involved in the assignment of a team of students from Harvard Business School to help Woodstock study the water company situation. And it's possible, we haven't gotten final approval, but we're going to get it in the next couple of days. If we get it, I think we will. So,
Wow.
so, and I coordinated that with the folks that are with Charlie Kimball and Stuart Matthews, who are working on the water company thing, and with Eric. And Eric is going to be the client of that. And so we have a finger into that. And we can play what I suggested.
What was the lever to Harvard? Was it Stewart or was it?
No, it
Charlie?
was me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, actually, I could take a lot of credit for it, but it's actually, they asked us, would we be willing to do it? Because they had too many students in their class. I know the professor that's teaching the course is an old friend of mine, and he called and said, I know you're on the, he thought I was on the EDC. Does the EDC have any projects? Because we have too many students and we want to give them all an experience. And I said, well, the EDC actually does have projects, but I think the water company thing is really what's
So
useful.
that's very interesting.
So,
too.
Very
yeah.
interesting.
Multiple layers.
Yeah, it's so, so Eric is going to be the client for that if we get the project. We haven't gotten it yet, but I think we will. And then I just suggested that one member of the finance committee be part of kind of the team that hears the presentations and so forth. So if any of you would like to be part of that.
I would love to be involved there.
Okay,
if I
or
could.
more than one could be. You could, I don't think it's going to be too limited to sit in on. Sorry. Corinne.
So the group of students, they'll do it to work on a case study, obviously, and they'll do the analysis. But ultimately, it's not what is going to stand for a quote unquote due diligence. For a due diligence, we'll have a formal auditor or somebody look at the stuff, right?
I guarantee these kids will see something that we're going to, that just a new set of eyes.
No. I think it's a
he's
great
not
idea.
saying that.
Tom.
I agree with the point you make, Kareem. It's not gonna, and that point has actually already been made. There was some
Okay.
resistance to have them come in because the idea is, well, we can't just rely on HBS. And we said, well, we're not gonna just rely on HBS, but it's free to us. Let's let them.
It's intellect.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So yes, there'll be more than this. This is gonna start, if it starts, it'll start right away in a week. And it'll be finished by the end of November. So I think sort of through my connection, which is nothing particularly, it's just personal. And the way this has been set up and so forth, we can easily get involved. And I don't think we should do anything beyond that until this analysis is done. And then we can decide what's missing and how it evolves.
Is the Billings family on board? Because they're going to have to be available to answer a lot of questions.
Yeah. No, Gyra's, no, Gyra's
Okay.
aware of it and would, participate in some way and so forth. Yeah, it's a few of, so I think Charlie and, well, I don't want to speak for all of them, but my sense is that the concern here is actually not moving too slowly, but the concern is moving too fast.
Okay.
Not on our part, but I think the water company, Gyra would like to kind of get this solved and, so. And the town is going to have to do the kind of analysis and due diligence and auditing and all that good stuff that,
Okay.
that's needed. So I think the question is whether we should do anything other than get involved in the HBS project. And my instinct is for now, no, but then at the end of November, our committee and the other people involved in the water thing will have a clear picture. Maybe there'll be some give and take in terms of who does what after that, but I doubt it. I think we have, but I mean, we can just assert whatever role. It's clearly a role for the finance committee to be part of the analysis. So I think that's all we.
How involved is,
I would be interested in participating in that.
Okay, great, Tom. Okay, so, okay. Sorry, what was your question?
are the trustees and the full select board in knowledge of the?
Yeah, that, in fact, yes, well, not the full,
Got it.
but they delegate, when they,
Hey,
yeah. But we have in writing the support we need to move ahead. Let's leave it at that. So, yeah. So that's where we stand on the water company. There is, by the way, just the substance of the work. It is there may be some cost savings in operating it, and those cost savings, if they exist, and Stuart seemed in the past to think that they exist, that could pay for some portion, some unknown portion of the unknown expense that will be, and my guess is it won't pay for the whole thing. So there's going to be an interesting kind of, it's going to cost 6 million to repair it over however many years we have to repair it. And those number of years are going to be uncertain because the state demands we do it, but can't quite demand that we do it in a particular time frame because what if we don't have the money? There's that kind of dynamic between regulator and.
But
So-
am I correct that the
gonna be interesting.
state is somehow involved in what is a permissible charge per gallon
Not-
for usage?
Not if, my understanding is not if a municipality owns it.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, only if it's a private company, of which there are 700 in Vermont or 400, something like that. We're the largest. The Woodstock is the largest. There's a very good presentation that was done by a week, 10 days ago it was a public meeting just to present the statistics, basically, to introduce the issue to the community. So, okay, so that's Kareem, anything else on the water company that you wanted to?
No, I missed the meetings, but I read all the minutes, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. So, yeah. Okay, so I think that's it. Are there any other items for discussion? Renee, do you have any questions in advance of whenever you speak to the select board? You're muted if you're still with us.
I was trying to unmute myself. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, Roger, anything?
No, great meeting. Thank you.
Okay, all right, then we have a motion to adjourn.
I motion. we-
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. And we finished early. This is the
Wow.
first. I should have said it. I should have said it.
That's because you didn't jinx it.
Everybody.
All right, thanks, bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.